What's up, everyone? We are back here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners for their drive-thru location in North Syracuse. And for those of you out of town, go to cafekubal.com. That's cafe, Kubal.com. Support Central New York and support local. This is Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we are carrying you through the beginning of your week once again with Isaac Alford and myself, Dan Tortora. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. What a great weekend for some Cuse football. It's good to be back in the studios to chop it up with you. So, let's do it,
If only the mic was on when we were off the air.
Oh, good times off the air.
Always have a good time off the air. The whole time I'm doing the intro, my mind's thinking about everything we were laughing about. Keep it together, Dan.
There you go. Hold it in. Hold it in. You got it.
So, we are here to talk about Syracuse at 4 and this many. So, Syracuse at 4-0. I think if you look, someone's allowed to punch you. I don't know why. I don't remember. I never grew up like that, but somebody would go like this to me as I got older, and they were allowed to hit you.
Really?
Right? Horrible thing.
I guess. I don't know. I don't play those games.
I don't play any of those games. Also, in high school, when somebody would come up to you in the cafeteria, and they would say, "Hey, Dan," and then if you looked at them, they got to grab and twist your nipple. And I was like, y'all guys are living in a different world.
Yeah, that's a strange
I was like,
frat house world.
Yeah.
No.
I was like, I don't touch none of that. I don't touch my own nipples.
Exactly. Stay away.
Like, just let it be what it is. I remember Janet Jackson said something a long time ago. Remember that Super Bowl?
Yeah.
The one time I looked down at the Super Bowl, so I didn't see it live.
No, I had it on VHS. I recorded that one. My only halftime I recorded it, so look at that.
Yeah, I missed that. I definitely missed it because I was like, oh my God. I looked down because I literally was like this. Everybody was like this. Oh my God. And in the same moment I was going, oh my God, pizza.
Oh, man.
I was ready for that pepperoni pizza. But to go back to that part, I'll never forget that she said she only had one of her nipples pierced.
Mm-hmm.
And
apparently it wasn't that one. So.
Now I know. That's good. So she said, I have one of them pierced. And she said, and every day around the same time at like 4 p.m., I get a feeling, and it's just so great. And I was just like, what?
4 p.m. Oh, okay.
4 p.m.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Made me think of it because football and 4-0.
There you go. There you go. Full circle.
Yeah,
all
full
right.
circle. So
gotcha.
Kind of bring it back to you like that. So Syracuse is 4-0, and who would have thought on a Monday morning you'd hear about nipples? So happy to be here with you. Isaac is being very calm. So, we are here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory brings you what's poppin'. Of course, this entire broadcast of Tortora and Alford will be about Syracuse football. And you see the Virginia logo and Wagner as we have the last game here, doing some post-game for the Virginia matchup at home, and then getting you ready pregame for Wagner coming into the house. And on this Monday morning, for the first time this season, Syracuse. And for the second time in a decade, Syracuse is ranked in the top 25 of the nation as the coaches around the country have decided that Syracuse warranted being in the top 25.
Yeah, I think even Dino said that he mentioned during the press conference. Somebody asked him that. He said, I think the coaches will probably put us in there before the AP would. Not throwing a slight at the media, but he was just saying, it means something when the coaches, I guess, vote them in. But, but hey,
I'm always like, how do you get into the AP as a media, though? Because Isaac and I don't vote in the AP.
No, I don't get a vote.
Because if we voted in the AP, I think y'all would be doing more of, then what? Because that's what we do every week. And I know a couple of names that are voted, and I leave them names unnamed.
Yeah, exactly.
But I look at that and I'm going,
yeah,
for real?
Exactly.
You could have Bert and Ernie voting in the So shout out to the Associated Press. There's 2 people's votes that you need to start taking because Isaac and I do this crazy thing where we watch the games of the current season.
Mm-hmm.
And we discuss the teams and rank the teams based on the current season. And when you play people that aren't ranked, you don't typically make it to the top 5. And when you're a team that has done nothing to prove itself, you typically don't start there, Notre Dame. So, Alabama, Georgia, they've shown that they earn their keep. There's other teams that show that they have earned that. NC State has gotten some respect, Wake Forest. But, Isaac and I do this really, really crazy thing when it comes to ranking teams, and that's do your research, watch the games, and then actually look at who the teams beat instead of just saying, is it Notre Dame, the Big Ten, or the SEC?
Yeah, and I think even we were just saying Syracuse coming in the top 25. There's a stat out there where we were the only team that beat 3 P5 teams so far this year. So it's funny how everybody else is playing Cupcake City still.
Yeah.
And you know what? Building up your stats, you're doing what you got to do, building team chemistry and all that good stuff. But there's some team playing Cupcake City and losing, or whatever they thought they was gonna, take the W and pay the team $1 million to come get beat. But
North Carolina cheering like crazy, celebrating when they barely got out of Appalachian State alive.
Exactly.
And then you see App State beating you see App State winning earlier on this season, almost beating North Carolina, and then you see what happened with Notre Dame and Marshall. Yeah. And I mean, in that same week where App State and Marshall got victories, and you see those games and those teams like Miami, for instance, Miami loses on the road to Texas A&M. Miami was 13, I think, at the time. Texas A&M was 24. They stay in the top 25. Yeah. And they're like, well, they're still a good team. Now they lose, and I had this on my radar. They lost to Scott Schaefer, because I don't bet against Scott. They lost to Scott Schaefer's as a defensive coordinator in Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee goes to Miami, beats them, which means they got paid to go. So they got paid to go, they cashed a check, and they beat you. And now I'm like, okay, so Miami should be out. Florida losing to Tennessee needs to be out. We look at where things are, where they're at in the current rankings right now, and there's teams that need to be out of this top 25. Miami is out of it, which is obviously a good sign to see. Clemson was 5. They barely in double overtime take down Wake Forest on the road, and they don't move. Then you look at some of these other teams that moved up. Now, Florida has not been a great team this season. They're out of the top 25. Tennessee moves up 3 spots for beating Florida at home in Tennessee, in Knoxville. I don't agree. I agree, good for Tennessee, but top 8?
Right,
because you beat Florida. And Florida's not that great right now.
Yeah. I don't know about top 8 just yet, but, there's a lot of teams that had inflated rankings coming into the season. I hate that they come. It is what it is. When you come out preseason, they start throwing a bunch of names based on, like you say, last season, how they finished off the season. But, there's definitely some teams that on this list.
Where your girlfriend goes to school.
Yeah. Who's getting the biggest NIL money or whatever the case may be. But I guess what Oklahoma lost 2 and dropped 12. So
Oklahoma had the most intense drop. The second to that, and that's in the AP. Oklahoma went from 6 to 18, and then we saw the second highest drop from 10 to 20 was Arkansas. So both of those teams taking a giant step backward. And so if you go to Oklahoma first and take a look at where they were at here, Oklahoma is 3-1 now. They beat UTEP, who's unranked, and they did that at home. Beat Kent State, unranked at home. Beat Nebraska on the road, unranked, and lost to unranked Kansas State, 41-34. So they dropped. So that takes Oklahoma down 12 spots from 6 to 18, and puts Kansas State in the AP at 25. Yeah,
crazy. And it's funny how we said Oklahoma and Texas in a couple more years they're going to be in the SEC. So, good luck with that one,
That's it. Oklahoma, get used to being 8-4, Texas 6-6.
Yeah, exactly. I think they'll probably do better staying where they're at, but, we'll see, especially with the playoff expanding now. There's no use to jumping into the SEC and trying to fight for a spot. But, I guess hopefully the payout is good for them, because it definitely is they're going to get a lot more losses on their records than they normally used to.
Well, and this is the thing that threw me off, too, is we see Arkansas dropped 10 spots because they're really not giving a lot of respect this year to Texas A&M. Now, I picked Texas A&M to win this past week because I said I learned my lesson. I almost never go against Jimbo Fisher. And I went against him last week, and then I stopped. so they beat Cincinnati when Cincinnati was ranked 23. Speaking of Arkansas, at home, 31-24. South Carolina at home barely a couple touchdowns, 44-30, but did allow 30 points. And Missouri State, 38-27. So you can see in these games that they allowed 24 points to Cincinnati, 30 points to South Carolina, 27 points to Missouri State, and those were all at home for Arkansas. So on the road, you could kind of feel the rumblings of them really not playing a lot of defense. So what happens when they play a ranked team that, currently ranked team, Cincinnati was ranked at the beginning of the season. What happens when they play a team weeks in? And we saw what happened. They lost a close one to Texas A&M, 23-21. That was their first road game of the season, Texas A&M 23. So if you look at it, and this is kind of weird here, Arkansas drops 10 after losing to Texas A&M. So they go from 10 to 20. Texas A&M goes up 6 spots. But here's the thing. If you have Arkansas a 10 and now you drop them to a 20, you're saying, wow, what a horrible loss. Almost like they lost to an unranked team.
Exactly.
Like Oklahoma to drop double-digit spots. And Texas A&M goes up 6 spots. So this season at 3-1, Texas A&M is really not getting respect, especially to see if a team fall that far. And what they do sometimes is they'll flip-flop them. They did not allow Texas A&M into the top 15.
Yeah, and definitely that is a big slight there. You don't think they're going to drop that far down against a quality team like that. But, playing on the road in any division is tough. So you just got to take it as it is. But, you get a little bit of respect to Wake Forest for losing at home in double overtime. They didn't drop as far, even though they played, number 5 Clemson. But definitely, like you said, they're not really giving them any kind of respect in the rankings. It's not like they was playing. They were playing a conference foe. You know what I'm saying? So definitely that and it was on the road, so it could go either way.
Well, and so I mean, and you look at that, and I said that going into this season that I thought the 2 teams in the ACC that had the best shot of beating Clemson were Wake Forest and NC State. Wake Forest brings you to double overtime in their house, and now Clemson is going to welcome NC State to Death Valley this week. So they have no break from barely getting out alive 51-45. I'm thinking Dave Doran and the Wolfpack are licking their chops going, they had to play extra just to get out of that. And now we get to hit them again after they just had a big test.
Yeah, and I know even we kind of looking at our schedule after our bye, Syracuse, as they call it, the gauntlet, they're going to go through a lot of good teams. But it's kind of funny because I was just thinking about this yesterday evening when I was watching the Clemson games. Just like you said, Clemson now got to play NC State. And I believe NC State goes after that and plays Florida State. So there's a lot of teams that play big games even before our game with Syracuse. So who knows what they're going to look like when it comes in there. And when those teams are going to play the NC States and the Florida States, you can't hold anything back in those teams. No. You got to put it all out on the field. So that's going to even be good for a Syracuse team to kind of see, okay, what are their go-to plays? Because now it's like, we got to go through gusto. We want to win. We got to beat Clemson. We got to beat Florida State. There's no time to be, saving plays and stuff like that. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how this lineup for the ACC. I know that, like I say, Syracuse schedule's going to get tougher, but there's a lot of teams that are playing ahead of us that's going to go through a little bit of a rough patch themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look at the teams that are ranked at the top right now in the AP and the coaches poll, the same in the nation's top 25, Georgia 1, Alabama 2, Ohio State 3. Georgia has played one ranked team. They will not play another top 25 ranked team unless things change until the 9th game of their season. They played Oregon at home. The 11th ranked team at the time beat them 49-3. Then defeated Samford 33-0. At South Carolina 48-7. And Kent State 39-22 at home. They will play at unranked Missouri, home Auburn, home Vanderbilt, home Florida, and will not play a ranked team until November 5th when they take on Tennessee at home. Also, I'm always stunned by the fact that the SEC, granted they are the best conference in college football, how many home games a lot of these teams get in a row, with Georgia having 4 straight home games coming up. So they get Auburn at home, Vandy at home, Florida at home, Tennessee at home. Outside of Vandy, Auburn might give you a test. Florida could do anything, and Tennessee has done some good things, and you get to play all those games at home.
Yeah, and I think the biggest one, most likely, is definitely going to be that Tennessee. Yeah. We seen the Penn State team went into Auburn and beat Auburn, so we definitely going to see how much test they can push those guys. Speaking of Georgia, I see Kent State gave them a little bit of run. in the first half of yesterday's game. So that was kind of interesting.
Shout out to Sean Lewis.
Yeah, exactly.
Former co-OC of Syracuse for like a half a minute.
Yep.
Alabama ranked number 2. They got to number 2 in the country by beating, hold it, Utah State 55-0. At Texas 20-19 against Texas, mind you, unranked Texas, mind you. Beat Louisiana Monroe at home 63-7 and Vanderbilt 55-3. Vanderbilt is actually a Division III football team, but they also play in the SEC. and then you have, and then I'm sorry, Vandy, but even Vandy knows when they cash that check, they're worried it's going to bounce.
Yeah.
So then you have, so they'll be playing at number 20 ranked Arkansas coming up here. They do have a bye week, or pardon me, they're going to be playing this. I can't believe it. I keep thinking it's a bye week. It's not. This Saturday, October 1st. They'll be playing against Arkansas. Then they'll get Texas. So this is different. So with Georgia not playing a ranked team until their 9th game of the season, Alabama, ranked 2nd in the country, will play their next 3 games against top 25 ranked teams. At Arkansas, home against Texas A&M, and at Tennessee. So Alabama, as much as they're Alabama, has somewhat of a gauntlet. They still have Ole Miss on the radar here. And they still have Mississippi State and Mike Leach.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get any easier for those guys. But you know what? That's Alabama. I don't think whether it's going to be home or away, they probably can do some things in their.
But they are playing the ranked ones, and Georgia's not. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. That's the difference between the West and the East. But yeah.
And then Ohio State beat Notre Dame, and the question that I had back then was, why is Notre Dame ranked 5 in the country? 21-10. They get that victory over them, and that was at home. And then against Arkansas State at home, 45-12. At home against Toledo, 77-21, and Wisconsin 52-21 at home. This is an egregious party foul, and I know somebody's going to say, well, you guys are talking from Syracuse, and Syracuse's 5 of their first 6 are at home. Difference, though, because Syracuse doesn't start off the season ranked in the top 5.
Right.
Ohio State starts off the season ranked in the top 3, and they were number 2 at the time that they played Notre Dame to start the season. Their first 5 games, 5, are at home. And outside of Notre Dame, who's not ranked anymore, none of these teams are ranked. I'm going to read you off Ohio State's schedule. They beat a ranked Notre Dame, which shouldn't have been ranked that high. They beat unranked Arkansas State, unranked Toledo, unranked Wisconsin. All those games are at home. Rutgers is unranked, and that game is at home. Then after the Rutgers unranked game at home, they're at Michigan State unranked, Iowa unranked at home, at Penn State, who's currently ranked number 11, at Northwestern unranked, Indiana unranked at home, Maryland on the road unranked, and Michigan, who's currently ranked in the nation's top 4, that will be at home. So as much as Georgia's doesn't look that hard, Ohio State literally looks like they're playing nothing, something, nothing, maybe, nothing, something.
How many home games do they get? It seems like
47. They get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 home games.
Get out of here. 9 home games? Holy. I thought we were doing good with 7. Man, holy. Must be good to be Ohio State. Man.
Yeah, you got Michigan State, Penn State, Northwestern, and Maryland as the only. Wait, did I count that right? Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, pardon me, 8. So they have 8 home games and 4 road games.
Jesus. Wow. Scheduling is good in the Big Ten, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, the Big Ten is always kind. Always. They always receive kindness from the college football playoff, and they are always kind when they are going up against. Ohio State is always given preferential treatment, in my opinion. So yeah, in Columbus, Ohio, and LeBron James is there. So yeah, Ohio State gets to play 8 home games this year, and the only road games they have are at Maryland unranked, at Northwestern unranked, at Michigan State unranked, and at Penn State, who is ranked.
Wow. Kudos to them for figuring that one out. You know, I feel bad for Syracuse because after our few stretches, feel like we don't come back to the Dome to like the end of the year. So,
would you think we were playing Ohio State for 4 weeks?
Yeah, I know. Must be.
So, yeah, I feel like some of the, if Ohio State gets to stay home that long with Northwestern on the road for like 11 games. So, but again, folks, somehow God just like leads me right back into my point. I always come back to the Big Ten, the preferential treatment, the ridiculousness, and 8 home games, and playing and looking at the Big Ten schedule, and people saying the Big Ten is so good. They're second to the SEC. Then why are these teams not ranked? And even when they are ranked, why are they ranked?
Right,
is the question, right? Ohio State ranked in the top 3. There's no good reason for that because their only quality win is Notre Dame, who should have not been ranked this year. And I would say that about anybody. For those of you that think I attack Notre Dame, I don't. I just don't believe you should be ranked based upon your past. It's your present. Well, that's why it's called the 2022-23 rankings. If it's called the 1967, then go ahead. Do what you got to do. But, I mean, I look at these teams now in the Big Ten. Ohio State is 3. Michigan is 4. And I ask you why. And then outside of that, Penn State is 11. And that's it.
Yeah.
Currently.
Right.
Because of the fact that Michigan State, who last year shouldn't have been ranked that high, but Michigan State had previously been ranked high. Wisconsin's always ranked in the top 25. They've done absolutely nothing. They got blown out by Ohio State. So you look at some of these, and even look at Michigan, who's ranked 4th in the nation right now, and you say, what has Michigan done? Well, typically they don't have to do much. And Michigan has beaten unranked Colorado State at home. Oh, look at this one. So you say Ohio State started off the season 4 games at home? So did Michigan. Apparently the Big Ten doesn't have to leave until November. But it's really October, because they're both, one of them is still at home.
Right.
Ohio State's still at home to start October. So think about this. The entire month of September, Ohio State into October will not leave home. Michigan's first road contest is October 1st.
They get the Jim Boeheim treatment in basketball.
Yeah.
If you want to listen how the pundits say Syracuse never leave the state of New York, but yeah, that's interesting.
So Michigan does not have to leave Big Blue City. Colorado State at home, Hawaii at home, UConn at home, Maryland at home. Yuck on all this. Maryland gave them a game though, 34-27. None of those teams are ranked. At Iowa on October 1st is not ranked. At Indiana is not ranked. Penn State at home for Michigan is ranked. Michigan State at home is not ranked. At Rutgers not ranked. Nebraska at home. Illinois at home, both not ranked. And then at Ohio State, which means that Michigan has 2 ranked teams on their schedule, Penn State and Ohio State. And I've questioned why Ohio State's ranked as high as they are. So if you really look at the schedule, in all honesty, people pick on the American, they pick on the Sun Belt. What the hell does Michigan have to do? They play 10 of their 12 games against unranked teams.
Yeah, and there's no way they're going to probably even go down until the end of the season, somewhere to the back end of their schedule, because they don't even have a competitive team later on into the schedule. So it just sets them up to stay up in the rankings, basically, until the playoff rankings come out and all that good stuff.
That's why I don't want to hear when people say Syracuse hasn't played anybody yet, because Syracuse played a Louisville team that looked really good on the road at UCF. They played up against UConn, who they should beat, right? Purdue gave hell to Penn State, who's ranked in the nation's top 11. And then Virginia is a team that started out 2-1 and is coming off having a season under Coach Anai and Coach Beck, that are now at Syracuse, where their offense was second in the nation, and they still have that quarterback, Brennan Armstrong, and they still have the jack of all trades, Keaton Thompson. So these, I would give more respect to Syracuse playing Purdue and Virginia than I would to Ohio State playing the church down the street, the Pop Warner Football League, and then playing Wisconsin, who is supposed to be good, but they're not as high as they should be. Right?
Yeah, and I'm definitely pretty sure most people probably locally and here in the media probably would have had Syracuse sitting maybe 2-2 right now, instead of 4-0, based off that schedule. Like you said, giving those teams that we play with respect, coming in on the schedule. But they definitely.
I didn't have them at 4-0.
Yeah. No, I had them at best maybe 3-1. So.
I thought UConn, I thought Purdue would be a real test, and Virginia's been down the last couple of years.
Right.
But I think it's I tell people all the time, in the comfort of my own home, I want them to be 12-0. But I thought this year they would live somewhere between 4 and 6 wins. So I had them at 5-7 going into the season. And I always tell people to do the preseason prediction based on what we know, and then to see a few games and do an in-season prediction. And then some people would say, well, that's changing. No, it's reality. because when you predict it going into the season, you're not predicting injuries, you're not predicting all these different things that can happen, and so you're not predicting what goes on with the team, coaches that get fired or leave or part ways and whatnot. So you have to look at all of that, especially when you got transfers coming in and different things happening, a new offense with Syracuse. So I always say do a preseason prediction, and then a few games into the season, give an assessment of where they're at.
Right.
So what I'm seeing now is I'm seeing a team that can get to 8 wins.
Yeah.
But what I saw going into the season, I don't think many people would have argued with me saying 5 or 6.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was what Vegas had them at 4.5. Coming into the season. So you know what, like you said, you can only go by what past shows you, but definitely what we see so far, that the way the offense, is kind of starting to get into a little groove here and there. The defense is just as good as they were last year. You know what, we can probably see maybe 7 or 8 wins on this schedule.
Yeah, and we have some interesting stuff coming up that could unfold this morning, and that is the fact that somebody that I know pretty well from spending a couple years with him at Temple in my coverage of the American Athletic, and this entire time since he's been in Georgia Tech with the ACC, is that Todd Stansbury, the athletic director, there's going to be a special meeting with the Georgia Tech board today here on Monday, September 26th, folks, and never wish bad on anybody, and definitely Jeff Collins is, listen, Paul Johnson did so much for Navy. He handed those keys to Kenny Amatsalola with the triple option, and it worked for a while. And then Paul Johnson came down to Georgia Tech and did some good things. People forget how Georgia Tech was at the top of the Coastal. And then that started to dwindle away, right? And so with Jeff Collins, really in just a few seasons, trying to change the entire offense, the entire identity, because he doesn't run the triple option. This isn't like a Syracuse changing offenses. This is a literally punch a hole and make a crater and then have to build the whole thing up again. This isn't take over a restaurant building and make it a new restaurant. This is knock down the restaurant and build a new restaurant type of thing. So Georgia Tech's Athletic Association is going to have a special meeting today, and we could see the potential end of Jeff Collins. He is 1-3 this season, and they lost 42-0 to Ole Miss, 41-10 to Clemson. They've had a horrible schedule as far as who they've had to play, and then losing 27-10 to UCF. Collins is 10-28 as the Georgia Tech head coach after coming from Temple, as I had mentioned before. And here we are to see what's going to happen here. So Collins is going to earn $3.3 million this season, and they signed him to an extensive deal out of the gate. He still has 3 years left on his initial contract. So no matter what, Jeff is going to be monetarily taken care of, I can imagine. But what are your thoughts about the Georgia Tech side of things, as we're here in Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call inside the Cafe Kubal studios, talking Syracuse, but really overall SEC or ACC, I should say, in college football. Georgia Tech has not really been a baton that I think a lot of people want to carry right now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he coming into this situation, changing a whole different culture. I mean, going from the triple option, I mean, that what Paul Johnson did was, like you said, he was so successful at Navy and with the cadets there. You bring that style to Georgia Tech, and you can probably recruit a little bit better athlete to run that scheme. And it's something totally different than what teams are normally used to. And then you add in the skill level. They had a little bit of, a good run there, like you say, top of the Coastal for a little bit. But then as seasons goes on, people adjust to it. They understand it, how, we see Syracuse take a whole offseason trying to prepare for it. Still didn't do too well against it. But then you say a new coach come in. Now he's just trying to start back over. You've got players that were recruited for a different style of offense. And like you said, the schedule didn't do them any favors this year either. So that's a tough call, I mean, sometimes you just got to roll. I think they got a nice quarterback there at Georgia Tech and stuff. They have some players here and there that produce, and a couple of them transferred out too. But it's going to be a tough call. But that constant firing coaches and trying to rebuild. Sometimes you just got to we just got to give the guy time to build up. He's 3 years into a 6-year deal. So yeah, well, Jeff Collins is currently, I think this is actually, and I can't believe that it is,
but I think he's 3 years and a couple. I think he's into year 4, and he is. So he's actually into. I thought it was 3 because it doesn't feel like 4. He came in. So he was at Temple's the first time he was a head coach in Division I FBS. So he was 7-6 and 8-4, and then came into Georgia Tech 2019. So you got to think about it like this: he came into Georgia Tech when Paul Johnson left, and things were not good. Went 3-9. Then in the COVID year, he went 3-7. Then still dealing with all the COVID stuff in 2021, went 3-9, and is 1-3 this season after playing the Ole Miss Clemsons of the world and UCF that's not as bad as people think every year. So you got a really tough non-conference schedule. Plus you come in, and while you're trying to recruit a totally different style of offense, you're going through a 2-year pandemic. So with all due respect to Jeff Collins, he at this point should have his own team, but with trying to change everything to unrecruit these guys and recruit these guys and do this, that, and the other, and then try to get people to come during this. We don't want that player, but we want that type of player, and then people don't want to come to a losing team. Doing all of this in Georgia Tech, and then half of his time there being a pandemic, I don't really think you can assess him, but maybe that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully they give him some options.
It's just a horrible situation.
Yeah, it is. Maybe they give some options to, hey, either you got to, get rid of some assistants or something, or bring in some more different assistants. I don't know, but it's going to be hard for them. I mean, like you said, they're only a few years out of the triple option, so that next coach, he better be a good one.
And your first couple years out of the triple option were during a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's tough.
It's like
tough business.
It's like trying to, it's like trying to protect your home in the middle of a tornado that is sleeting in the center of the tornado. So it's like not a great option for Jeff Collins, and I don't think it's fair. And I hope that he can, if something happens, that he can end up in the right place with the right people.
Right.
Because this is a non-ideal situation for him at Georgia Tech. But to take a quick look at the rest of the ACC before we take a true dive into Syracuse is looking at the ACC standings right now, folks. Going into Week 4, the ACC had something it had never had before, which was all 4 North Carolina-based schools were undefeated at 3-0. North Carolina, Duke, NC State, and Wake Forest all being 3-0 has never happened in the ACC. And of all of that, if you include in Syracuse as well as Clemson with these teams, if you look at Syracuse, Clemson, and then also, like I said, Duke, North Carolina, I think Pitt as well, because Pitt had lost to Tennessee.
Florida State, I believe.
So it was Florida. There was undefeated. Yeah, Florida State. So Florida State, Syracuse, Clemson were the other 3 schools with those North Carolinian-based schools, which meant that half of the ACC, half of the 14 institutions that make up ACC football were undefeated. 7 of 14 were undefeated, 4 of them in North Carolina, all of them in the Carolinas, including Clemson, and then Florida State and Syracuse. So half of the ACC undefeated through 3 weeks. And coming out of that, going into the 5th week here, we have Clemson, Florida State, Syracuse, NC State still undefeated. And no teams in the Coastal are undefeated anymore, with Duke losing and North Carolina losing, and then obviously Wake Forest losing in the Atlantic. So there's still 4 undefeated teams inside of the ACC. But what do you think about that very unique history that 3 weeks into the season, for the first time ever, all the North Carolina teams were undefeated and half of the ACC was undefeated?
Yeah, man, that was... I don't think anybody would have wrote that, especially teams like Duke. I mean, you didn't think Duke would have came up, but they're doing a absolutely fantastic job coming out the gates and where they did it. Mac Brown, we kind of can see that. And the young quarterback for North Carolina came out. The defense is struggling for North Carolina, but you know what? They definitely got a weapon in that young kid in North Carolina at QB. Florida State, after being 0-4 last year to be 4-0 this year, did definitely a turnaround from a season ago. Syracuse, we're going to talk about what Syracuse has done, and Clemson has been Clemson so far. So I mean, I don't think anybody would have guessed that you would have had 7 teams in the conference come out the gate that fast with those records. But you know what? That just tells you how good and competitive the football is in this league. You know what? There's going to be a lot of good games coming down that's going to determine who's going to stay up on top of the rankings and who's going to stay at that top half of the ACC. And you know what? We always said Atlantic was the tougher side to us. So, but you know, this is all going to work itself out over the season. But you know, I don't think definitely wouldn't have predicted that coming out of the gate.
No, and to see Duke and North Carolina both at 3-1 right now, and Mike Elko with what he's done, and to really bang home the fact that Mike Elko is a defensive-minded coach coming from the Texas A&M staff under Jimbo Fisher, and has been in the ACC under other staffs as well. So Mike Elko being a defensive-minded coach, and then seeing Duke score as much as they're scoring makes you think that he was an offensive coordinator. So he's really had a great ushering into his time as the head coach of the Duke Blue Devils. And then, you know, Wake Forest, and I do want to make a note about this, despite losing, the AP Top 25 only dropped Wake one spot, losing in double overtime at home to Clemson. Shows how much they respect Clemson. Clemson didn't move, stayed at number 5. Wake Forest only dropped one spot from 21 to 22. And then in the coaches poll, just a real disrespectful thing, they dropped them 5 spots to 21 from 16, which is kind of ridiculous here. So I don't really understand that motion from the coaches poll, but in the AP poll, definitely keeping the respect for Wake Forest. NC State and Wake Forest, between the two of them, have one loss. NC State's 4-0, Wake 3-1. But to take a look at these North Carolinian teams and see what they've done up to this point, even though a bunch of them lost here in the 4th week of the season, still, who would have thunk, like you said, Duke at 3-1, North Carolina's only losses to Notre Dame, NC State is 4-0, and Wake Forest is 3-1, and like NC State, who's done it over the past few seasons, Wake in the last couple seasons has really been one of those threats to Clemson. And seeing what NC State has grown into and what Wake Forest has now grown into under Clawson of the last couple of years, both of these teams, as I said going into the season, in my opinion, had the best shot going into the season of taking down Clemson. And if Wake Forest gave a shot like that, I would be surprised if NC State doesn't win the game or go into overtime, because NC State is also known to play extra periods against Clemson.
Yeah. NC State had Clemson on the ropes a few years back. You know, I think maybe the season after Syracuse beat Clemson at home, NC State had that opportunity but missed a couple of field goals. So they've been building that momentum over the last couple of years. It's just not like this. They just hit the stage and now new with that. They've been building that program for a while now. And hey, you see what Florida State's doing. You know, that's another team I can think you can maybe give Clemson a run for their money, because Wake Forest kind of put Clemson out there, especially on the back end of their defense. You know, those young corners, they're talented, but they're probably not as talented as what Clemson used to having. You know, and I'm pretty sure they'll clean some of that stuff up. But you know, that Wake offense is no joke. I mean, that ride, running back through the hole type deal, and then pass it. You know, it's a hard gig to try to stop that. But you know, they gave everything they had with Clemson, and it just came down to that 4th down stop, and that Clemson was able to hold on to it. So, but yeah, I agree with you. NC State's probably going to give Clemson a good run, and like I say, if you look at that schedule for some of those other teams like NC State, Clemson's, and those guys, they got to beat up on each other before they even get to Syracuse a little bit, and that might help, you know, benefit us a little bit. We get to see what they got on tape. So yeah,
we get to see NC State and Clemson face off this Saturday, October 1st on ABC at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and that game is going to be at home in Death Valley. Then they'll be on the road at Boston College, and then they'll have Florida State on the road, who's now ranked in the nation's top 25 at 23. Those 3 games before they play Syracuse. Speaking of Clemson, to your point, and then NC State before they get to Syracuse, they will have to go and face off Clemson in this game, as we just mentioned, on the road. Then they'll also play Florida State. So both of these teams, NC State and Clemson, have to go through each other and each through Florida State before they come to Syracuse, which, if they beat up on each other and Florida State gives them hell because they have nothing to lose,
right,
then what Syracuse gets in those weeks is either going to be hell hath no fury, or, you know, it could be a team that's beat up, or a little bit of both. A team that's got a chip on their shoulder that's also beat up. So it doesn't hurt Syracuse that Clemson and NC State are going and going up against one another, and then Florida State gets a crack at both of them.
Yeah, and then we're coming off a bye week too.
Yeah.
So when they coming off that game against Florida State, so that's the other piece to it. So, hopefully we can get our guys some time to, rest up and put some film together and do something different after they, evaluate themselves for the first part of the year and try to do something a little bit different when they come out against those teams.
With that being said, we're going to take a step aside here on Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. As you're here with us inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, we gave you a look at the top 25 rankings, college football in general, and, of course, the overall ACC. After this fast break, we dive deep into Syracuse's win over Virginia and a look ahead as Syracuse takes on Wagner. Right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying.
in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com.
Welcome back here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios to Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Here to start off your week, I can't even believe I'm saying this, your final week of September. Week of September.
Time is flying.
This Saturday, October 1st, one of my closest, nearest, and dearest friends, Ross Turetsky, turns 21. No, because we're the same age for almost 3 weeks. So his birthday's on October 1st, mine's on the 21st. And so we will both be the same age. He'll be turning 36 right before I turn 37. So very excited for Ross, and a happy early birthday to you, brother. So much appreciation and much love as always. Like I said, inside of these Cafe Kubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse. Inside of their double-decker cafe in Manlius on 343 Fayette Street, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse at their drive-through location. So make sure you head out there today. For those of you out of town, go to cafekubal.com. That's Kubal. So talk at Syracuse all throughout the broadcast. Tortora and Alford, Isaac Alford, myself, Dan Tortora. And we've given you a lot about college football in general. We started broad in college football in the top 25. We zeroed in on the ACC, and now we're going to zero in into Syracuse a little bit closer. But before we do that, I want to throw something at the fans here. DJ Leongalale has over 1,000 yards this season. Now, in 4 games, he has 1,033 passing yards already, 64.3% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns passing to 1 interception. But the national conversation of DJ, I'm not hearing anybody sound positive. 1,000 yards passing, 64% completion, 10 touchdowns, 1 pick. Those numbers sound good, right? He's averaging 4.1 yards a carry on the ground. He's got a touchdown. Why do you think DJ is not getting the normal praise that a Clemson quarterback gets?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll take those numbers any day of the week. I think it's the perception coming into the season. Maybe they were just thinking, he started off kind of slow a little bit, but, he came on. Yeah, Clemson wasn't Clemson of last year, but, what they did, they win like 10 games last year. I take 10-3 or something like that. I mean, if that's not being yourself, then I don't know.
That was the bad year for
Clemson.
Yeah,
that was the bad year. Yeah. So, but yeah, I understand. I agree with you 100% that I guess high expectations for what he's expected to do, and then you add in the freshmen they brought in that they kind of try to make like it was some kind of maybe a quarterback controversy, maybe a little bit, but I think I think DJ's doing well. I mean, he lost weight coming into the season, and you know what, to see what he did against Wake Forest, when Hartman's just slinging it and put your defense under pressure like that. Yeah. Him and the receivers came out and they did what they had to do to rally the troops and get a victory for them. So, look, I take those numbers. I don't care what you say. It's only hopefully it's going to get better as he goes along the season. But you know what? Some players just don't come in with that notoriety as a Lawrence and all this other stuff. You know what? You got to grow up into the culture and get your feet wet and go through a couple seasons and understand who you are as a person and a player. And all that other stuff will work itself out. A lot of that stuff is just a lot of outside noise of what people expect of the young man, but I think he's holding his own right now. Yeah,
I mean, the numbers definitely don't equal the perception. Mm-hmm. And they say character and there's a difference between character and people's perception of your reputation, right? Because character is who you truly are, and reputation is who people think you are.
Right.
And who people think he is, that ain't what I'm seeing on these stats.
Right.
10 touchdowns to 1 interception. If this was Trevor Lawrence, people would be, we are not worthy.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's just very interesting how the really outside of the 2 games that he filled in for Trevor Lawrence in the COVID year of 2020, outside of that, last season he was given a lot of flack, and that is carried into this season. And I'm sure all those people will delete their tweets if this is a team playing in the college football playoff or somewhere close to it. Last year, he attempted 374 passes, was 55.6% completion percentage, so he's already upped that by almost 10%. He threw for 2,200 yards last season. He's got over 1,000 already. Last season in 2021, 9 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. This year, he's 10-1. So he's already flipped more than flipped that. Exactly. So definitely a different world for him. I think it's safe to say that in his 1 season as a starter, which was last year, that there's a little bit of I don't think people believe this anymore, but when you start a job, the thing about this is all the internet trolls, when you start a job and you've never been there before and you're in a meat packing plant, you might forget and leave the cow's eye in there or something like that. But on your first day, your second day, your first couple months, you're going to make a mistake, right? 10 years in, you might even make a mistake. DJ's only season as the starter at Clemson was in 2021 when Trevor Lawrence had moved on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he didn't have a great year his first time on the job. And this year already is looking statistically pretty night and day. So I think, could we maybe just give DJ a little bit of some flack or some rope there to have the opportunity to say that in 2021, when he was a first-time college football starter on one of the highest stages in the nation when it comes to college football at Clemson, that the transformation of the team's offense from Trevor Lawrence to DJ maybe took a little bit of time, and that in his second season as a true starter, he's not doing that bad.
Yeah, and then it also, not only him, but it's a whole team thing. You got linemen that's got to block for you. You got receivers on the outside that got to make those catches and stuff.
Yeah, Will Shipley's been fantastic.
Yeah. You need a great running back to lean on sometimes because you can't do it all by yourself. that it's going to take him time, and he's on a new offensive coordinator, so maybe that's the difference of this year.
Yeah.
You got Tony Ellis down in Virginia, and
new offensive and defensive coordinators. For the first time in a while. Brent Venables had stayed forever.
Yeah,
he's now at Oklahoma, and then you got Tony Elliott, who's
in
now
Virginia, and see how Virginia is doing compared to what Virginia did the last few seasons under a different coordinator. So it's not always
would take Virginia at 2-2.
Yeah. It's not always just that one quarterback. He's stepping up and filling in the void where he's got to learn a new offense. So I definitely like what I see so far out of him, and he's definitely improving in what he built on from last year.
And Will Shipley, 52 attempts running the ball, and also fighting and looked like he was going to be well short of the end zone. Somehow spun off his defender, reached his arm out, and got it over the threshold in double OT to help Clemson get the score that was the separation, I believe, in this game. 52 carries through 4 games, 353 yards, 6.8 yards per carry. 7 touchdowns rushing in 4 games for Will Shipley. That's usually a season. He has done that in the first third of the season as 7. So if he continues this through to the second third of the season and the final third of the season, we're looking at a guy that would have over 20 rushing touchdowns.
Oh, easily, definitely. He's putting in the work. I think he scored 2 touchdowns in each his first few games here, or at least he created a record. I think they mentioned that he set it a standard for himself. So yeah, definitely, he's a workhorse.
Yeah, and in the Wake game, his 1 touchdown was the one that they needed late. And so you look at this, he scored 2 touchdowns against Georgia Tech, 2 touchdowns against Furman, 2 touchdowns against Louisiana Tech, and 1 against Wake Forest. And the last 2 games has been a 100-yard rusher and had 4.2 yards a carry in his first game against Georgia Tech, 6.8 against Furman, 11.6 against Louisiana Tech, and 5.2 against Wake Forest. Obviously, playing better talent as you go here. But the biggest thing with Will Shipley is, can he do this against... He's done it against Wake. Can he do it against NC State? Can he do it against Syracuse's defense?
Yeah.
Because you got to give Syracuse credit where that's due as well.
Yeah. But like they was talking about last year, I think Clemson rushed for 300-something yards. So, Wake Forest was already going to come in this game focusing on stopping and running. Young man still got 20 carries for 100-something yards. So, for a team that knows you're going to try to push it down their throats and stuff, that's still good stats there with 20 carries. The first 2 games, he really didn't have to do anything. He didn't really have to show anything, but he did get the 2 touchdowns per game. But it wasn't, like you say, better competition. He got better reps, more time in there to prove the offense, and he definitely scored a critical touchdown when they needed it.
And going from orange to orange and purple to orange and blue. It's so weird when I say that to people. And when I talk about Clemson, I go, well, that's orange and purple. We're orange and blue. And then people look at me and I'm like, do you not know that Clemson's purple? Do you think that they're both orange and blue? Right. Virginia is.
Yes.
Virginia is orange and blue. So navy blue. But Clemson, that is some purple hue. I know y'all look at the orange very closely here, but you got orange and orange. I would say Clemson's orange is it feels a little bit lighter. Maybe a little bit lighter.
Just a shade.
Just a little hue lighter.
Yeah.
I think the Syracuse one, I know the code for that online. It's F75202. It's that orange color. So that vibrant orange color, do your research.
There you go.
So, and you'll see that on wakeupcalldt.com, that color. So to get to the Syracuse Orange here, folks, in Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios to start off your week this week. Syracuse is 4 in this many, and Louisville defeating them at home 31-7. At UConn 48-14. Purdue at home 32-29 in a game I said would be field goal separation, heart stopper, Syracuse win. And then they beat Virginia. We both picked Syracuse to win this game 22-20. They almost tried to make a liar out of us with 5:51 to go in the game. And I knew that. I said, that's Syracuse. It could be basketball, it could be football. It's notorious that in the Dome, when Syracuse is leading an entire game, if they give up the lead at all, it's always at the end.
Yeah.
I've done the basketball games where Syracuse led the whole game until the last 21 seconds and lost.
Yeah.
In this game, they led all the way till the 5:51 mark of the fourth quarter. but they were able to get it back and get a victory. And the first topic that I'm going to bring up with Syracuse is how they got the win, because he deserves it, and special teams never gets that love. Andre Schmidt, spelled SZMYT, Schmidt. Mr. Andre Schmidt, 5 for 5 on his field goals, made his extra point as well to open up the game. Did not miss through the uprights in this game. Can't say the same thing about visiting Virginia, who missed in the first quarter to the right and then to the left on the same goal there. Syracuse's kicker, Andre Schmidt, 5 for 5 in his field goals of all different lengths. And I would love to start there because he is the 22-20 here. And without him, 5 of Syracuse's 6 scores wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that's a big advantage to have a kicker that's poised enough to make all his kicks like that, and with a different holder too, because Justin Barron got tossed out of the game for targeting early in that game. So
for what was called targeting.
Yeah, for what was called exactly. Yeah, that's a whole different topic. So. Yeah. But no, definitely kudos to Andre because Syracuse is still, believe still perfect in the red zone when it comes to scoring, whether it's touchdowns or field goals when they get to the red zone. And you know what? You got to have that advantage. Hey, not to jump back to the other Orange team, but the Clemson kicker hit a big 52-yarder, to keep them in the game. So that tells you how important special teams is.
Yeah.
You definitely got to have somebody you can rely on. And Andre's been that guy throughout his career. And, he showed it his freshman year all the way up until this point now.
Yeah, and taking a look at Syracuse, and like you said, looking at the red zone here, red zone attempts and scores, Syracuse, you are correct. Syracuse is 16 of 16 in the red zone. I don't think we could say this the last 20 years, but Syracuse is 100% effective through 4 games this season, 16 of 16. When they reach their opponents 20 and inside, they are a perfect 16 of 16, be it a touchdown or a field goal. I think you would take that any day of the week. Like Dino said, wants more touchdowns. But they are 16 of 16 in the red zone, which means that when they are close to the end zone, they come away with some type of points.
Yeah, definitely. You take care of the ball. I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit, too, about this game. But, they come in, when you get to the red zone, you definitely got to put the points on the board. And, the coach has been, not too ambitious and maybe going for it, maybe on a 4th or short or something like that. Just trusting your players. Let's kick the field goal, or if we got it, call a great play and we may get a touchdown or whatever the case may be. But I take 100% all day long.
And you look at the fact of how many of those are touchdowns versus field goals. Well, we'll tell you. 9 of them have been touchdowns of the 16. 7 of them have been field goals. So Syracuse, a perfect 16 of 16 through 4 games in the red zone. And on PAT attempts, which Dino also addressed in the post-game press conference, he said, where are we there for Andre Schmidt? He's 14 of 14 this season.
Yeah, that definitely. And we've seen Syracuse so far block a couple of extra points. So not just Andre doing his part. Snap, hold, kick, and blocking.
And you see that the opponents are 7 of 9. Yeah. That's the blocked extra point against Purdue and the blocked extra point against Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. So those points make a big difference on the board. I don't care if it's just 1 or whatever it may be, but you know what? Good special teams, coming into the season, they definitely so far improved from what they were doing last year.
With 32 NFL franchises, you may only see in 17 weeks of play like 2 blocked extra points, if you even see it. I mean, honestly, folks, for you to see 2 in 2 weeks in back-to-back games from one team, you don't see that at the professional level from week to week, and you might see 1 or 2 a whole season.
Yeah, exactly, 1 or 2 if you're lucky, And you know what? They getting the push up the middle, and those guys are getting their hands on the ball, and thank goodness they are, because those points definitely made a difference in the game. So yeah.
Yeah, when you look at a game that came down to the wire against Purdue, a game that came down to the wire against Virginia, and those points, again, can't stress this enough, special teams is a phase. It's one of 3 phases. It's like saying that 2/3 of the pie is good, but you're not going to eat the other third. Everybody wants to talk about offense and defense. Special teams, no coordinator last year, awful. Probably the worst special teams year Syracuse has had in a very long time, in a decade or so. Coach Legg comes in, Bob Legashevsky comes in, and this team already has 2 blocked extra points, a ton of awesome plays. True freshman Brady Denneberg, who I've gotten to cover his story exclusively on his way to Syracuse from Merritt Island, and he's only been trained by one of the greatest Syracuse kickers of all time, Nate Trout. So you got him doing kickoffs. You got Schmidt 14 of 14. You got 5 field goals through the uprights for Andre Schmidt. He looks like himself again. So just to say 4 games in, I think that Coach Ligg, just having a special teams coordinator, having a leader there, and Coach Ligg being there specifically, Syracuse's special teams looks like some of the best in the country.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it takes a big weight off the other coaches on the coaching staff that now you got somebody dedicated, professional to give that attention to. And I like what also they're doing. They're not only they got first team players on the special teams. You know, it's just not like, hey, yeah, let's get some of these second team guys out here to run. It's that important to them that they got some, first team players that's playing on special teams, and it's showing. It's definitely showing.
Andre Schmidt, good from 26, 32, 28, 40, and 31 in the game, kicking a field goal in every single quarter of this game.
Yeah, definitely. And this game was to me, I don't know about you, but this game it started off great, and you're like, all right, can we keep building on this momentum? And
yeah,
it just seemed like we came out at halftime and it just kind of went sideways just for a little bit. Like you say, the Syracuse
felt like a Wake Forest game in the Dome.
Yeah,
where Clausen always adjusts.
Yeah, exactly. One of those type games where the other team went in and say, all right, we need to do this, but they did what they needed to do at the end. But yeah, lot to talk on this one.
Tale of 2 halves. Syracuse starting off, going into the break at halftime up 16-0. One of those will take it, but wish it was a little bit more. And then come out of the half and get outscored 20-6 in the second half. Defensively, though, they didn't look bad. Even though Syracuse didn't allow a point in the first half and then allowed 20 in the second half, I don't blame the defense, which might sound weird to say. I blame the fact that the defense had a bunch of extra possessions because Syracuse, for the first time this season, turned the ball over.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big key, like you said. The defense was giving very short fields on a couple of possessions, especially early in the second half.
I don't feel like the defense played bad in the game.
Yeah.
Even though they got outscored 20-6 in the second half, I can't honestly tell you that I can pick out a guy on the defense and say they didn't do their job.
Yeah, exactly. And it could have been a lot worse than 20-6. The defense made a couple of, we turned the ball over and then right back, the defense got a turnover and then kind of got the ball right back to us. So it could have been worse than 20-6. It could have been 28-6 or something like that. But, the defense held their end just long enough for the offense to, like I said, it don't have to always be pretty, but just give me somebody that's going to make some plays. And again, this is the second straight game that the offense, last possession, they found a way to score points and put up points on the board. So,
yeah, it was definitely an interesting world for Syracuse, a team that had not turned the ball over in their first 3 games of the season, +6 in the turnover world. And then in this game, they look like a team that was prone to turning the ball over. You would have never thought, if you hadn't paid attention to the first 3 games, seeing them in this game, you would have never thought, with a team that turned the ball over 4 times in this game, as they're trying to catch up. They were +6, and you come out of something like this where, they did create turnovers, but 3 fumbles, all lost. Sean Tucker, very uncharacteristic. It was his, I believe, 5th fumble in 3 years that he had. And so we'll talk about the Sean Tucker world there, because I actually put it in my game story, which you can go back and look at on wakeupcalldt.com. All the game stories are there. You can click on Syracuse. You go to wakeupcalldt.com, click on articles, and it's right at the top. Or you can just click on Syracuse football on the upper right-hand side, and that'll give you only Syracuse football articles. And Sean Tucker turned the ball over, fumbled. Courtney Jackson fumbled after a great shovel pass, a Brett Favre-type shovel pass from Garrett Schrader to Courtney. I don't know how he did it. He got hit. He's going down, and somehow the ball flew out. Courtney bobbled it and then would lose it again. And then Trevor Pena fumbling the ball on a kick return. So 3 fumbles all lost, and Garrett Schrader got out of this one with 1 interception. Should have been 2, but there was a penalty called. So Syracuse could have almost, in this game alone, negated what they did. Plus, they came in +6 in turnovers. They almost had 5, so they were almost dead even. 4 in this game. What are your thoughts about offensively? Syracuse looking pretty darn good. And against Purdue, got out of that one alive too because Schrader almost had an interception there. But to be +6, not have committed a turnover in 3 weeks, and then in this game, they look like a team that only commits turnovers.
Yeah, it was strange. Like you said, it wasn't characteristics of this team so far. And, like you said, Tucker, that was kind of, the guy had a good play from the backside to kind of swipe and get it from him, but he usually keeps that ball secured close to his body. I don't know if he was just focusing on trying to get a couple extra yards and had the ball out there a little looser than he normally would. But definitely, Trevor coming off that goal line, I don't know, he gave the signal as showing the guys that he's not going to come out the end zone, and then at the last second decided to bring it out, leaves his feet, and then gets drilled in the back and loses it. So, I mean, right after Virginia scored, it started to open the second half, so it wasn't even a good time to have that happen. But, they hopefully they need to go back and clean those up. Like you said, being +6 and almost being even would have been horrific. I mean, most teams don't even win a game when you turn the ball over 4 times in a game. But, this team, they found a way to pull it out and stuff. But defense, they did get those 2 turnovers. And those turnovers late, that was definitely a much-needed assist for the offense because, that one, it could have got out of hand. And, Virginia all the momentum was on Virginia's side in that second half. And you were just hoping that, something the offense could have did, just to get them one more touchdown at least. But you know what? We'll take the field goal and walk away with the 2-point win.
Brennan Armstrong's fumble when he got popped by Garrett. I don't know if Garrett did this. Popped by Garrett Williams. As we see Brennan Armstrong, the quarterback of Virginia, carry the ball for a 4-yard gain, gets banged right by the right sideline by Garrett Williams, hits him, ball comes loose, and Garrett pops the ball up in the air, catches it after laying the blow, which was crazy. And seeing that, and then Garrett Williams also getting the interception. So Garrett Williams getting both turnovers for Syracuse, the forced fumble recovery, and the interception, all on Brennan Armstrong, with almost half the NFL there, 15 NFL teams of the 32 scouting this game. And I know from my sources very close to the situation that Garrett Williams, not just in this game, has been looked at in more than one game this season in the Dome, just so you know. And I can't tell you how I know that I know, but I know.
Right. Yeah.
Because, you protect those scouts and the people out there, but they are looking at Garrett Williams, and he put on a clinic against one of the best quarterbacks in the country by the numbers in Brennan Armstrong. So huge there. And credit to Syracuse. Brennan Armstrong, 19 of 38 in the game, 138 yards, hold him under 200 yards, and he completed as much as he had incompletions. 19 incompletions, 19 completions, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That's a very good day against Brennan Armstrong.
Yeah, that's a very, very good day. You know what? And what I kind of liked was Purdue came in, got through 50-something times. Now you got a 30. This Syracuse defense is going to only get better and better, as they keep seeing these teams coming in, because we're going to constantly see teams coming in. They got great quarterbacks. That's going on. The Atlantic Division is full of great quarterbacks that's out there. Florida State, Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest. I don't know if you can name one that has a subpar quarterback on it. And to see these results, I love the play of Garrett on that kind of reminiscence of that Louisville play where he's kind of playing off. He's in kind of something like a zone almost because he's not guarding somebody. He has the smarts to not to follow the guy in the post and drops back off. And catch the interception there with the quarterback not even paying attention to him. So that was a hell of a move, on that play. So, I didn't even think about that. He had both turnovers in that game. Yeah. And they both were timely, So, yeah.
Syracuse committing 4 turnovers in this game, but they have 8. So they still go into week number 5 +4 in the turnover margin after being +6. So even though they were trying to play catch-up ball in a really bad way, because of Garrett Williams, they have created 8 turnovers, committed 4, and are still +4 in the turnover margin right now. So big ups to Garrett Williams for having both of those. And to put in perspective, like I said, go to wakeupcalldt.com, click on the articles tab, and read the story about the Syracuse victory over Virginia. But I will read you my Sean Tucker paragraph, like I said, to really show you how he protects the ball. What I wrote here was on the very first play of Syracuse's second drive, which came at their 33-yard line after taking over on downs. sophomore running back Sean Tucker had an uncharacteristic happening, fumbling the ball away. To put it into perspective how atypical it is for Tucker to fumble, he had 1 fumble in 9 games played in 2020 and 2 fumbles in 12 games played in 2021, and both of those fumbles came in the same game, a 41-36 win visiting the Virginia Tech Hokies. This was Syracuse's first turnover this season, coming here in the Dome in their 4th game. So Sean Tucker, through 21 games coming into the season, had 3 fumbles. Now he has a 4th. So he has 4 fumbles in 25 games as a college player.
Yeah, and how many carries? I'm pretty sure if you pull up his
Over
stats.
500 carries, yeah.
Well above those carries. So, I mean, he's definitely, I really don't, think too much of him being a guy that's too loose with the ball,
Not at all.
He's definitely shown what he can do, securing the ball and making plays and stuff like that. But sometimes you just got to take your hat off to the defense and give them credit, for finding.
470 carries.
Yeah.
So 4 fumbles and 470 tries.
So every 100 something, yeah. But I mean.
Almost every 125 or 110 times he carries the ball.
Exactly. So, you know what? It happens. It, like you said, it was uncharacteristic of him. But, I think for them to come out with the win, that's definitely something the coaches definitely can take back to the practice field and say, hey, all right, guys, we got to buckle it up, make sure we are not loose with the ball, no matter who it is. Yeah. Special teams, receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, whoever it may be, it's very important that they keep the winning of the turnover battle because, like I said, most teams don't win this game when you turn the ball over 4 times.
And to also make a note, in just not even 3 seasons at Syracuse, being a double freshman due to COVID, now being a sophomore on the list, even though this is his 3rd year in college at SU, in 2 seasons plus a few games. And remember, in 2020, it wasn't a full season either, and he played 9 of those games. So in literally what would equate to 2 seasons plus a game. So in 25 games, which would typically be 2 seasons plus 1, in 2 years playing college football, he's already a 2,000-yard back at Syracuse. He passed Ernie Davis with 2,436 yards cumulatively. So he is already a 2,000-yard back, heading to be a 2,500-yard back in what would equate to 2 seasons plus a game.
Yeah. That's and how many yards he's averaging?
5.2 yards a game.
Yeah. I take those numbers. you don't see that too often. Some players probably over 4-year span maybe lucky to get to that threshold. But you know what? We got a special one. And I know a lot of people are kind of looking at it like, what's wrong with him? He's not himself, or maybe he's injured or something. But you know what? Other teams can stack the box, play against him. You know what?
Right. He
just got to come out and play his game. I was kind of watching the second half. I didn't like some of the runs that they called, directly up the middle. I think the more you can get Sean in the space, he's showing that little wiggle and that burst.
Well, they don't pitch it.
Yeah, that
and
too.
And they really don't run the option with Garrett running next to him.
Right. So, yeah, you got to change up, the scheme or inside-outside zone or something like that.
Because those short passes that Garrett throws to Sean, and they've actually been having him go deep down the field as well. These short passes end up being huge for Sean because he's already a few yards out. He's shown he can catch the ball, which is great for the NFL, and he can gain that yardage. So to me, it's like if the passes work out of the backfield, why would you not, with a running quarterback and Sean Tucker that accumulated over 2,200 yards together last season, why are you not running the option with him or just looking really quick, seeing if a receiver's open, see if Arande's over the middle, and if not, just pitching it to him? I don't understand with a guy that you already know can catch the ball why you don't run an option or at least a pitch to him a few times a game, knowing what he does when he catches the ball and that he's pretty much just as good catching the ball and running as he is being handed the ball right off the bat.
Yeah. But you mean, honestly, I think they need to even pass it a little bit more. Not saying, yes, Sean can be that, release valve or the, check down guy, but I think they need to open it because I've kind of watched the last Purdue do it, even though they played the one high. But the other teams are currently, they got guys close to the line of scrimmage on defense. And maybe, like you said, that pitch, can get around them a little bit. But, some of them guys, those defensive ends, those linebackers are pretty athletic to get around to that. But I think if they pass it a little bit more, and that kind of backs them off a little bit, and then maybe can see Sean hit a little. I do want to see a lot of more read options. Press, make the end, make a decision whether he's going to give it or not. Whether Schrader's going to keep it or not. I don't think they really did that much in this game with that kind of.
They used him as a decoy.
Yeah.
Because Schrader used him as a decoy in this game and kept the ball and got some good advantage.
Right.
There. But you're going to play Clemson still. You're going to play NC State. You're going to play Notre Dame. You're going to play Wake Forest. You're going to play Florida State. These are all still on the schedule. Boston College. All of these teams are going to be really physical up front.
Oh, yeah.
So the pitch and the option, the RPO, all of these things need to be utilized for Syracuse to be successful. Because if you think Sean's going to run it up the middle consistently against Clemson, Wake Forest, NC State, you're nuts. If you're not doing this, extended kind of, am I going to give it to him or pull it back with Garrett, like you were mentioning, or that pitch and just run alongside of him and let it go to him, or just to have him next to you in a shotgun formation and just take 1-2 read, let him have it, and then let him go up to middle once something develops itself. If they're not going to do these things and they're just going to hand it to him up the middle, you're not going to be successful consistently against NC State, Clemson, Wake Forest, any of those teams. Florida State.
Those athletic defenses. That's not a recipe for gaining yards. And I would like to see them kind of maybe incorporate, if we're going to go to a bigger passing scheme, which I kind of like what we got so far.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of draw plays for him too. Maybe like you say, let Schrader stand up tall and then, make it look like he's blocking for him, and then, kind of do a wraparound to him or something, and hand it off to him and maybe get him a delayed draw or something like that. Because once you get the defenders up, or dropping back, that might give him a little bit more space. It does hurt you missing Rhino. We can't forget that, he was going to be a big part of it. So,
but the thing is, knowing what you have to go up against in the ACC, to think that you're just going to hand it and let Sean follow the center is just stupid. And it's taken nothing away from Carlos Vettorello. It's just, that's not what's going to get you there. You need to see the pressure coming and have Sean outside. Because he's already proven he can catch those passes. So why not just pitch it to him and do these different things? We know he's got good hands. We know he can handle it. But get him away from that initial onslaught and let him come around the edge, left or right. And I think, that to me is just like, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. For all we know, maybe they have that there and they're just holding it for some reason. I don't know why.
I'm not going to do it against Wagner.
Yeah.
Then finally show it against NC State.
Yeah. So hopefully they do it a little bit against Wagner, just kind of get a little rhythm with it, So, but definitely, I think they'll work him in there. I think it was a little too simple in the second half. What they was really, I got it. They were trying to get Sean going there in the second half, but I think they need to be a little bit more creative with how to give them the ball, as you said.
I also think that they need to stop having penalties.
Yeah.
42 penalties through 4 games is an average of over 10 penalties per game. So you're averaging double-digit penalties per game for almost a loss of 300 yards, which is almost the equivalent of them losing the entire field 3 times.
So. I think this game, it kind of reared its ugly head back up more than, I could say, the Purdue game or the Connecticut game, definitely. Louisville game was atrocious, but definitely they got to work on that, getting the penalties down and whatnot. But some of those calls, again, like we said, the so-called targeting fouls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some of that's just, maybe the refs being too much involved in the game.
Yeah, no, the Justin Barron, to put that up against the Virginia play and to look at them both and, to look at what their middle linebacker, to see what Nick did versus what Justin did as the rover. When you look at, and not that the position means anything, just mentioning what they both are. They're both playing linebacker of some sort.
Right.
To look at Justin's versus Nick Jackson, he came right up to Garrett. And we were in the press box, 3 rows up, disrespectful. But we were 3 rows up in the press box, and I heard.
Oh yeah.
I heard the hit, and when I heard it, I was like, "You better check this for
Yeah,
targeting.
you heard it and I felt
Like,
it. So
yeah, yeah, and we also felt that. That's from 3 ways up. Which, with all due respect, folks, we were almost in the 300 section with Joe. So where Isaac and I, as big as that giant screen is in the center, we can't see it from 3 rows up at the prep. So, but yeah, and you know what? I'm happy that all those NFL teams were there. But Isaac and I both know that y'all ate all the cookies. You ate the brown. I remember there was one guy, and I swear I couldn't look at his hand because I was gonna get mad. There was one scout up there, and I swear he had the last brownie, and he's back there, and he had it in his hand, and I was like, man, all the cookies are gone.
all of gone.
The only thing that was left was salad. Salad was left, and vegetarian lasagna, which my heritage told me I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, I don't mess with that.
I don't mess with that. When people are like, well, what do you do on Fridays during Lent? I'm like, we don't eat lasagna. We don't make veggie lasagna on a Friday. We make munagod or stuffed shells or something that doesn't have meat in it.
Right.
Disrespect. Like when people say, do you have the meat lasagna or the lasagna? I was like, in the Italian heritage, when you say lasagna, there's meat in it.
Yeah, it's
like,
automatic.
When you say, are you having the lasagna? We don't call it meat lasagna.
Meatless lasagna.
Yeah, meatless lasagna. Talk about some ridiculousness going on here. But yeah, I saw that there was vegetable lasagna and salad. And Isaac knows I put no dressing on, trying to keep my figure nice.
Yeah, I see that.
I was eating gerbil food in the second half of this game.
You had more than me.
Yeah, I had gerbil food, and then I said, I was like, because Isaac and I were a couple seats away from each other, also rude, and so we were sitting there, and I thought about it, and I'm like, Isaac, I better not have to beg him to go to Insomnia Cookies after this game.
That's tradition now.
Yeah, and we got out of the game, and Isaac looked at me, and he was like, I can't wait for some of those Insomnia cookies.
That's
and I was
right.
like, man, I'm going to eat all them cookies.
Got to get the victory cookies, man. I'm telling you.
So we went and made sure we went to Insomnia Cookies after the NFL ate all the brownies.
Yeah, you know, those guys are savages. Yeah.
They are. The 3 of them from the Giants. Giants sending half like all their scouts to this game. Giants going like, we need offensive line. We might need a running back. We need everybody.
We need everybody. Yeah. Quarterback.
Yeah, the Giants are like, can we get a Rondé Gadsden to leave her? Oh, we can't? Okay, so, but I was like, they're probably there looking at Burge. They're there looking at Garrett. They're there looking at Sean Tucker. And they knew that there were other people there from the NFC East and maybe looking at them all too, so.
Hey, more the merrier, you know what I'm saying?
So,
that's good for those guys. They earned that.
Yeah, Matt Bergeron, I can tell you with certainty that Garrett Williams, cornerback, Sean Tucker, running back, and Matt Bergeron, left tackle, have all been on the NFL scouting radar, and I have some information from the scouting world as to what they see and what they like. And so I know right now that they're looking at Garrett as a nickel. Sean Tucker, they want to see more because unfortunately I don't think they saw enough last year because now they're starting to look and with Garrett, so and then with Bergeron, he's the one that they said of the 3, like he's got the body, and you know that he is someone that definitely probably has the biggest plus right now, and then Garrett has obviously gained that too, and him staying healthy. God bless to him for that. And to go back to one of your points of like Sean Tucker not looking as Sean Tucker-esque, I mean, the man has gone down and laid on the field in each of the last 2 games. I don't think he's 100%.
Right, yeah, he might not be, but you know what? And then teams are preparing for him. It's not, you don't put up those yards last year and people are like, oh, you know, forget about you. So what, and then we got a couple guys getting back into rotation on that offensive line from last year. So, you know, it might take a game or 2, you know, maybe just wagging the game, but kind of get them going again, you know. I mean, it's not like, again, we didn't come out on our schedule playing Cupcake City. No. You know, we came out with some decent teams that we came.
Better unranked teams than the Big Ten.
Exactly. So, you know what? And we had to go out and play hard, you know. And every snap or every ball he had to get, you know, it was well needed for victories and stuff. So it's not like, you know, it's a slight on him right now. Some people just coming out the gate a little slower than others. But you know what? we'll see how the rest of the season goes along.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Big Ten played in an abandoned building for one of their games this season already. So, with that being said, we're going to take another step aside, come back, talk more Syracuse, starting off 4-0, and get into this Wagner game. Folks, nobody can be overlooked. And so I know that y'all are going, Wagner. But you need to not do that because Syracuse has played overtime in the Dome against Villanova, who is an FCS team. So that, they might play overtime against Villanova on the basketball court. Nobody expected it in football. Not a lot of people knew that Villanova even had a team.
Yeah.
So we will talk about that coming up after this fast break. Very excited to bring that to you. And we're also going to make some more notes here, including the very nice come up of Aronde Gadsden II and what he has done. So make sure you stay with us throughout this fast break to hear from these fantastic companies supporting Central New York and supporting local and small business. And we will be back right after this as Isaac and I will bring you through the final portion of Tortora and Alford this morning, where sports meets life inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here at the Cafe Kubal Studios.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Cuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you, fall 2022. Welcome back here to Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, here inside of the Cafe Cabal studios. Cafe Cabal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse. You can also find them in Manlius on 343 Fayette Street in their
giant behemoth of a brown straight building with an expanded parking lot now, and you can go through the drive-thru right by the airport, and really right by Clay, Cicero, Liverpool, Mattydale, Syracuse, by the mall, like I said, by the airport, minutes outside of the city. Fantastic location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse for their drive-thru, and online for those of you out of town, cafecubal.com. I want to thank everybody in Central and Upstate New York for being with us here on the broadcast, as well as the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, our home of Florida, second home of Florida, and of course all around the world. We have had listeners and viewers from Spain, Italy, England, China, Russia, Mexico, Canada, Germany. If I didn't say Germany, I think I said Germany. So we've had Germany, Russia, and China. I'm like, oh, history with those people in the United States, but they like the show, so yay. We've also been in the Middle East, so shout out to that. I think Conan O'Brien and I have both reached the Middle East, and they treated him like a king, and I go, well, either I'm seeing all this by accident, or when I go there might be like pictures of Dan.
There you go. There you go.
Hopefully some good stuff. Shout out to the Middle East, and please be nice to each other. YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT. Facebook.com /LiveNowDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So, in this final piece of Tortora and Alford to start off this final week of September, which I can't believe, Syracuse content inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com is what's poppin'. They have their Syracuse Poppin' Kettle Corn there. They got the orange and blue kettle corn. You can get 50 different flavors at any given time, including the orange and blue flavor, and their caramel-coated cheese bombs, which look like little baby Ottos, which are also very good.
Nice.
So head off to 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York for that, and we appreciate you doing so. Keeping with this Syracuse football conversation, finishing our 4-0 start with Virginia's game and heading toward the Wagner game, I did promise that after this fast break we would be talking about the fact that Oronde Gadsden II has had back-to-back 100-yard receiving games. Atypical for Syracuse to have a receiver do this, and also thwarts all the people that say that Garrett Schrader can't throw. Now, I want to look into the screen when I say this, because Garrett, after the game, I congratulated you. And you gave me a look, as if you thought I was someone else in the media. And I want to be fair, Garrett, by telling you that there may be a lot of people that said you couldn't throw the ball. But 0% of the people on screen right now have ever said that. So I don't know if maybe the vision, after taking a couple hits, made you think that we were somewhere else, someplace else, somebody else. But I can tell you that the look that you gave me, that you would only give a guy who's dating your ex-girlfriend. I've never said you couldn't throw, because I'm not that stupid. I've always supported you. Check the tape. And Garrett Schrader, I'm a fan of yours. So please, I hope for loving eyes at the next post-game press conference. With that being said, I don't know who he thought I was. I don't look like nobody either. So I was like, if anything, Tony Stark, Doctor Strange. I don't look like anybody else in that room.
You're that media guy. That's what he was looking at.
Because he's done it before where he's looked at the room and I went, you can say that about most of these people. But I've never said he couldn't throw. I've defended that he could throw the ball, exactly. And you know that I have. So
exactly.
So with that being said, to thwart everyone's thought, I shouldn't say everyone, most people's thoughts that he can't throw the ball, why would he have a receiver getting over 100 yards in back-to-back games if he couldn't? 6 catches for 112 yards against Purdue in a close win. Oronde Gadsden averaging 18.7 yards per catch and 2 touchdowns in the game. And then looking at the fact that we had against Virginia, he had 7 catches for 107 yards, 15.3 yards per catch. So I would love to talk about how Garrett Schrader can throw. I would also like to send him a picture of me and put my name next to it. So once again, for the 100th time, Garrett, I'm saying you can throw, but I have to preface it.
It was this guy.
Yeah. I tell you, as soon as he did it, he was on my right, Isaac was on my left, And I said, what do you think I'm somebody else? And Isaac goes, you that guy, Dan. I said, don't do that. Because Isaac knows it's not true either. So not only can Garrett throw the ball, but Aronde Gadsden is proof of that.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on the fact that there is a 100-yard receiver named Aronde Gadsden, the second, a young receiver on the team, 6'5", has been able to handle his business, and also your thoughts on the fact that Garrett Schrader thought I was somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know who he thought you was.
Who do I look like?
I don't know.
Nobody.
It was
like
funny.
that.
It was a funny moment.
I don't know, Nato. I don't know, Nato. Let me get on the screen. So Andre Schmidt comes up, and Schmidt knows me. A lot of these guys, because I build these relationships that are more important than football. And I saw Andre. I said, congratulations. I shook his hand. He smiled. He said, thanks. And then Schrader came up. I said, good game. I said, congratulations on the game, Garrett. And Garrett went like this. And I was like, bro.
That's the guy that liked Tommy, you know. I'll just play with you.
But Isaac knows, on and off screen, I have never said that Garrett can't throw the ball.
I've heard you tell me many times that you defended him, and you have. But the throwing Garrett, you know, he definitely under the Coach of Nine, Coach Beck tutelage, has been doing some good things. I was just looking at between the break, you know, how there's 6 different receivers that caught a touchdown pass through the first 4 games. I mean, I don't know when the last time we've seen 6 different players this early in the season caught, you know, at least 1 touchdown pass. And Aronde has been the guy that caught several. And
he's got 3.
Yeah.
He's got half of them?
Yeah, he's got half of them. So, you know what he's doing?
What do we have, 7 now? We may have 7.
Maybe,
you said 6 different guys.
6 different guys.
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so there's 8 passing touchdowns so far for Garrett and 6 different guys.
Yeah. So you know what? He definitely can sling the rock, you know, and Aronde is a guy, looks very smooth out there that catch those passes. You know, if you get it within his catch radius, he look like he can, you know, maneuver his body, torque himself to pull those balls down and secure the catch. You know, and like I say, it's just smooth. As they call him OG, being the young guy. Yeah,
looking like he's an NFL receiver type. He's got the body for it.
Somebody's been teaching the young man.
He's got the body for it.
Somebody's been teaching him. You know, this is not his first rodeo. You know, but I definitely like what he's been doing. Now, what I don't like, this is me. I don't know if you caught this. There's been a lot of 3rd and mediums and 3rd and longs in this last game.
Yeah.
And Aronde was running off the field, and I'm sitting here scratching my head in the press box like, why is he the best receiver going off the field when we need to convert this 3rd down, get him back on the field. He need to be on the field more, get more targets, because that first drive was, that first drive was like, okay, is this the blueprint of this game? It's going to be a fun game, but you know, I guess you don't want to go too much to the well, but hey, if it's working, hey, feed them. I don't care, you know. Let other teams see what you got and then make them correct their defense to what you're doing, not just going totally away from it. But no, Garrett can sling the ball, and Garrett can adjust and modify, you know, when the pocket collapses on him.
Yeah.
I like him scrambling out, and, you know, as long as he keeping his eyes downfield and finding people. And like you said, he did that Brett Favre shovel pass. You know, he has a little improvisation into his game. So, you know what? He's going to be all right. I like what the coaching staff, this new offense, is giving him opportunity to show. He just got to, you know, stay under control. And like we said, sometimes it looks like he has to take that hit.
Yeah.
Before he can kind of get, you know, settled down into himself. But you know what? He definitely got the tools. There's no worry. I mean, he's 900 yards. It's not far from the DJ from Clemson. He's not that
DJ's
far off.
1,003. Yeah. Schrader is 986.
So yeah,
and DJ is 63%, and Garrett is 66.4. So he's got a better completion percentage than DJ. He's just shy of his yardage, and DJ's 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. Garrett's 8-1.
Yeah. So yeah, he's
and
definitely
everybody
up
talks
there.
about Clemson.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. I think there's a lot of other people starting to notice him too. So
I don't know how many times I have to say nice things before he looks at me kindly. I felt like he was Well, I felt like I was Monica and he was Brandy, and that boy is mine. You know what I mean? I felt like we were feuding. So I was like, man, this is like some Luke Bryan, you know? Was it Luke Bryan, Luke Combs, like writing a song about the same girl type of thing? I don't know what's going on. I don't even know who Garrett dates.
I don't know what you did, but you did something.
I don't know, Nato. I didn't do nothing. So, like in a past life, I don't know what happened. But anywho, look, maybe he likes dinosaur barbecue, and I'm not a big fan right now. But Oronde Gadsden's father played 5 seasons for the Miami Dolphins and was an NFL stud as well as a college stud. So, you know, he's definitely got the body for it at 6'5", and that pass over the middle that has killed Syracuse's defense for years, going to Oronde Gadsden, who's a receiver, but they put him as a tight end because who wouldn't want a 6'5" tight end running down the middle of the field, and just catching him in stride with the defender behind him and getting that ball. And like Isaac said, I loved everything about it in the Virginia game except for the fact that they stopped doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know why, but that first possession, like I said, was, you know, there we go. He know how to set up a defender, and that's the great thing about him. Some kids, again, he's been around the game his whole life, and I'm pretty sure his dad gave him some life lessons on what he needs to do, and he's been around a lot of people, some good coaches that probably coached him up. So he's not scared. You know, he's confident. I like, you know, hearing him talk about his game and what he brings to the table. You know, he's got to have that confidence, and you know what, you know, I want to see him get more targets. I'd like to see a lot of more other receivers get a little bit more targets.
Well, Courtney Jackson, he gets almost nothing.
Yeah. Even Cooper, too. Cooper was getting a lot of targets
he
last
got that
year.
one pass from Garrett in this game where Garrett got out. I don't know how he got out of it, but he got out of being sacked. Guy grabbed his jersey, and he kind of like came off him slow and was looking downfield and had all the time in the world at that point, and then was like, oh, and then he just kind of like threw it to Devon Cooper. Yeah. So, I mean, Cooper we haven't seen as much of. Courtney Jackson we haven't seen as much of. There's some of these guys that DeMarcus Adams coming from FAU as the transfer, he had that one touchdown, but then we haven't seen much from him. Trevor Pena, we saw a lot of him in this game. You know, so I mean, in all honesty, it's wide open because Syracuse doesn't have that dominant guy, but already being a 300-yard receiver, and keep in mind, folks, that in past seasons, Syracuse's top receiver had 300-something yards for the entire season. Oronde Gadsden, through 4 games, already has exactly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So as he might evolve to being the guy, potentially, these other guys should be getting more open in that respect. But Oronde, great numbers right now. Just got to stay consistent with it and, you know, be that lunch pail kid that he's been and just stay focused.
Yeah, I mean, he's got all the skills, and like you said, you know, take his time with it. The offense going to come to him. Yeah. And then that's just going to make it better for the other guys around him. And even Sean was leading receiver last year for the team, I believe. And you know, he has the ability to catch those balls from Garrett. So no, Oronde has definitely done a great job so far. And I enjoy watching the young man out there perform.
And Oronde Gadsden, being a wide receiver / tight end on the team, has 19 catches. Behind him, to Isaac's point, Sean Tucker, the running back, has 17 catches to be the second highest person on the team. Devon Cooper has 10. Courtney Jackson with 9. Trevor Pena with 6. Caught a bunch in this last game to help that out against Virginia. Damian Alford, your long-lost cousin or nephew, has 3. Isaiah Jones has 4. And those who have caught touchdown passes, Oronde Gadsden has 3 touchdown passes in the first 4 games. Sean Tucker has 1, and these are receiving. Devon Cooper has 1. Trevor Pena has 1. Damian Alford has 1. And Isaiah Jones has 1. DeMarcus Adams has 1. Damian Alford has 1. Trevor Pena does not have 1 yet. Courtney Jackson with 1. And Tucker with 1 to go with Gadsden's 3.
Yeah. I mean, they got some weapons out there. Just like you said, they got to determine who
Pena is feisty, though.
Yeah, Pena's a guy that he's not afraid. You could just see him how he's played special teams.
He reminds me of Richie DeGier. He reminds me of oh my goodness. He reminds me of Richie. He reminds me of Sean Riley, who responded immediately when I put up about Trevor Pena's initial play of the game. When he ran it back almost as far as it was kicked to him. It was kicked 63 yards. He ran it back 57. And then to start on Virginia's side of the ball, which is nuts. And then the other guy, then I'm thinking of my man Brisley.
Yeah, Brisley. Yeah. I mean, Trevor, he's no no fear out there. And I think that's a good thing to have for somebody on special teams that, hopefully you're not too overconfident, because sometimes it's not too bad to wave fair catch. You can save your body, you don't get hurt. But,
he doesn't seem to mind at all.
No, he don't. You got to be fearless when you got 11 guys coming running at you full speed trying to knock your head off.
Yeah.
But, he definitely, to be his stature, he definitely is a football player.
Yeah, Trevor Pena, a big-time shout-out to him, and just to keep the ball rolling, another shout-out to Garrett Trainer. So,
you'll be all right, Dan. You'll be all right.
I'm not dating your girl, man. He's done it to me twice, and I'm like, I know that you don't know what... You must have saw a goatee on somebody before. I'm at PTSD about it. I don't know what happened.
Guys going around with goatees.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what happened. But it's like a dog that just remembers that the owner that used to beat him had like that color shirt on. You know what I mean? And he saw that color and he was like, "Burr," and I was like, "No, don't bite." So next one up here, looking at Wagner, the fifth game of the season, as Syracuse has 4 of their first 5 at home and 5 of 6 at home, but they will have a break after this. So I have a break on my dog up in heaven. God bless you, sweetheart. Shady's birthday on October 8th. They'll be off and back on the 15th to face NC State at home before heading on to the road. The Wagner team is led by quarterback Nick Cargman, 457 yards passing. And to take a look at the difference there, with 986 to Garrett Schrader. But Wagner's only played 3 games so far this season. They are 0-3. They lost 48-31 against Fordham at home. On the road at Rutgers, 66-7. And at home against St. Francis, 27-7. And they are, for those that don't know, Wagner is on Staten Island in New York. And so Nick Cargman, through the 3 games, 457 yards, 45.5% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, and then leading them in the backfield for 116 yards on 31 carries. This is something you see from Tucker or Garrett in one game. We have Ricky Spruill, and that running back has 1 touchdown, the only rushing touchdown of the entire team this season, 3.7 yards per carry, and Chris Collier is right behind him, also with 31 carries, but 86 yards, 2.8 yards a carry, and no touchdowns. Receiving-wise, the 2 touchdowns that they have had, they've had 4 touchdowns receiving. 2 of them have gone to Naeem Simmons, who has Simmons has 13 catches for 235 yards, 18.1 yards a catch, and 2 touchdowns. And then the other 2 touchdowns have gone to Javen Little, who has 5 catches, 2 of those being for touchdowns, so almost 50% of the time he's in the end zone. 55 yards total, 11 yards average per catch. So Simmons and Little is really who it goes through, and not great numbers from their rushing attack or their passing attack coming into this game.
Yeah, no, so far through 3 games, not too good. I mean, like you said, they played, for a Big Ten team, Rutgers, that's a tough draw for those guys.
Yeah.
And then they put up, they didn't really put up much last game they came out, but first game they put up 31 and a loss. But you know what? These guys, they're going to come to the Dome. This is going to be their Super Bowl, another New York team.
And they play in the Northeast Conference, in the ACC. So just to let y'all know, I mean, not too far away, and like you said, another New York team.
Yeah, they're going to come in here. You know what? And Syracuse has got to take care of the ball. Don't give a team any other extra chances than they deserve. And take them seriously. And I'm pretty sure they will. They're not gonna, they're not gonna change their game plan now and show this Wagner team what we got.
Yeah, and Syracuse coming into the game averaging a little over 33 points a game, allowing their opponents 17.5. Syracuse outscoring their opponents in total 133-70. And looking at this balance that we thought would be coming this season through 4 games, Syracuse has 48 first downs passing, 36 first downs rushing. So really huge for them there to see that balance and more of it on the passing side here. And Syracuse has gained almost 700 yards rushing at this point, which is huge, and over 1,000 yards passing. Taking a look at this. 1,000 yards passing up to this point through 4 games, allowing 864. Rushing 564 to 444 is what we're looking at. Syracuse has
gotten 3.4 yards on the ground. They've allowed 4.1 yards on the ground on the other side of it. 1 interception as opposed to forcing 4 picks that they've had against their opponents. They've had 8 touchdowns passing to 5 to their opponents, and they are 6-5 here when it comes to rushing touchdowns. So a little bit closer than you want it to be. Yeah. Running the ball, you want your run defense to be better, but the pass defense has definitely been pretty much on point for Syracuse.
Yeah, and we kind of knew that was going to be the strength of the defense was going to be have the early advantage in the offense, being that the defense under Tony White has been phenomenal the last few years.
Yeah.
So you know what, I want to be interested to see this team come out, get a decent lead, and then maybe some of the, as Dino would call it, the underbelly of the team get some opportunity to go out there and show the fans what they got, how hard they've been working in practice, and put some things together out there on the field too. Again, you don't take no team lightly, and then like you say, knock on wood, just make sure everybody come out healthy for the bye.
Yeah.
And then be ready for that ACC schedule.
And remember, Syracuse allowing 20 points in the second half. Remember that Syracuse in this game was without a few minutes, was without starting free safety Elijah Clark, who's been on the show. They were also without Terry Lockett, starting defensive tackle, who's been on the broadcast numerous times, and they were without Justin Barron, the Rover. So, you look at 3 starters on Syracuse's defense in this game were out. So, again, to not blame it on the defense.
Jahad Carter was out, too. Yeah. Happened to just catch that, him in the huddle in sweats and stuff. So, hopefully it wasn't nothing serious either with him either. So, there was definitely some other guys that came in that game against Virginia, and Eric Cooley had the last deflection,
Anwar Sparrow and Eric Cooley, linebacker and DB respectively, had the last 2 pass breakups on 3rd and 4th down to prevent Virginia from coming back.
Yeah. So
2 backups.
Yeah, that tells you, how deep this defense is, and those guys, they came up and stepped up when it was needed. Definitely, yeah.
And I would imagine we're going to see maybe the Jason Simmonses, the Eric Coleys, the Anwar Sparrows come out here and get some more time. Kevon Darton, maybe he'll play the entire game here, depending on what's going on with Terry Lockett. And then I would imagine we're going to see, as I asked for at the beginning of the season, to see Carlos Del Rio Wilson and LaQuint Allen get some ample time out there at running back for LaQuint and at quarterback for Carlos Del Rio Wilson, transferring over from Florida. So I do also want to make a note here that 2 teams in upstate New York have won despite committing 3 to 5 turnovers, which is the danger zone, each committing 4 turnovers in a game. The Buffalo Bills and the Syracuse Orange have won when they have committed 4 turnovers in a game this season.
And like I said, you usually don't see that. A team that, again, in the end, just find a way to make a play to win the game.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that all season long. That's all I want to see.
Find a way to win. And you'd rather win and teach than lose and have to teach.
Right.
So we're both picking
no.
We're both picking Syracuse. I was going to say we're both picking Syracuse in the Wagner game. I got ahead of myself.
You wonder why Garrett looked at you like that.
I just mistake Wagner for Xavier. Sorry, Garrett. I just did what you did. So we're both picking Syracuse in the Wagner game.
Yes.
That's what my mouth wanted to say. Just like Garrett wanted to hug me when he thought I was somebody else. And I did. I wanted to pull him aside and be like, dude, this is twice now that, you remember that you and I have spoken multiple times. So, But I think, and Garrett, I think the thing is with him, like with Dungy, he knows that most of the media has dogged him. So I think it's just normal for him to come out with just that, gruff, rough exterior, but
I don't think he's a social media guy anyway. He probably doesn't really pay attention to a lot of the noise anyway.
But I feel like Steve Urkel, where I feel like I'm wearing you down, baby. I'm wearing you down. So I'll get there. We're both picking Syracuse over Wagner.
Yes.
And we want to thank you for being here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com worldwide, all /WakeUpCallDT to keep it easy. Facebook.com /LiveNowDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com. Once the shows go live, you can check us out on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts.
MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube, as well as others, just by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. You can also ask Alexa and your Google Home devices to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they will do that for you as well. Want to thank all of our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond: Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A, Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Honda City of Liverpool, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Watertown, as well as Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, Victory Sports Medicine, and Orthopedics, and of course Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of yours. Lemoyne College Dolphins, it is Fins Way Up every single month, and we're coming off of the Gold Wave's 38th induction class to the Lemoyne Hall of Fame, called the Gold Wave, and I have specials you won't find anywhere else featuring every single one of those inductees for the 2022 class. A lot of great stuff coming up with Lemoyne this week, including somebody that was a massive part of getting Lemoyne volleyball back to 500 at 5-5, Madeline Kennedy, who was a terrific piece of this. Got some great pictures coming up and a great dolphin dive with her, who's a fellow only child. And I cannot wait to share with you the rapid fire questions she's asked me. I've been a broadcaster for almost 19 years, and 2 of the 3 questions I've never been asked. So I can't wait to share that with you. Find all of our dolphin content by going to the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and checking out our Lemoyne content there. Every first and third Wednesday, AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, bringing you the Dolphin Dive with student athletes like Madeline Kennedy, as well as coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. Make sure you go to LeMoyneDolphins.com for more information, and as always, fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are also exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. This Friday, on the final day of September, we have a massive, multi-layered, great opportunity for you to get to know the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats women's basketball team here in Syracuse. The Bobcat Buzz has us buzzing around with some wonderful, wonderful women on the team. We have Suli Afalabi, who's going to be joining me for a one-on-one, as well as Nana Hickerson and Jahia Cook. And we will sit down with the 3 of them and their head coach, Tay Baker, for a rapid-fire discussion that will leave you asking the question, how many times can Dan say Megan Good in one show? A lot of good stuff coming up with the Bobcat Buzz. Find all of it on our BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com. Subscribe to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and see a plethora of Bobcat Buzz specials. Under promise, over deliver. We have given you so much from the Bobcats here in Syracuse over these last few months, and we have a great Friday lineup coming up for you with the women's basketball team, which I can't wait to share with you. With that being said, from here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. This has been our Tortora and Alford to start off the week with you. As always, Isaac, thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. Always fun. It's great to be ranked in the top 25. Let's keep it going.
Yes.
You know, hey, it's only getting better from here.
And if I've learned anything, I'll tell you this, Syracuse. To be ranked in the top 25, if you keep winning like the Big Ten, you get to stay in. So, with that, no matter who you play. So, with that being said, for Isaac Alford, myself, Dan Tortora, this is Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And for good measure, Garrett Schrader. We'll talk with you soon. Take care.